What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going over 10 things DC wants you to forget about Batwoman. And without further ado, let's get straight on the list with number 10. DC turned Batwoman gay. In 2006, DC bent the knee to a new demographic audience that was rising in popularity: the LGBT community. DC Comics Senior Vice President and Executive Editor stated how this addition was solely for the purpose of increasing the diversity of their universe. This new gay hero was Batwoman. However, what DC wants you to forget about is that she actually isn't a new character at all, and she wasn't even gay in her previous life. Batwoman was first introduced in 1956, a whole 50 years earlier. Her original purpose was actually just to be a love interest for Batman, because a lot of people thought that Batman and Robin were gay together. However, only 8 years later, and she was removed from the DC roster and was forgotten up until they needed her again. Number 9, Batwoman was introduced as a family woman. Batwoman was also introduced to complement Batman's family man side persona. This formula had worked so well with Superman, so DC decided to give it a try with Batman. Batgirl was also introduced, as well as Batmite, an imp from the 5th dimension, and Ace the Bound Hound, who is a family pet. Batwoman was portrayed as the average American woman. Her purse consisted of stereotypical feminine products such as lipstick, cosmetic compacts, charm bracelets, and hairnets, but of course, these doubled as weapons. However, in 1964, editor Julius Schwartz decided to take the comics away from the family direction and set it on the new and exciting plot. Batwoman was replaced with Batgirl, and she slowly died off in popularity. It seems like Batwoman is always used, and her image is manipulated by DC Comics in order to appeal to their current audience. Number 8, Batwoman has an evil twin. You know what they say, are you really a superhero if you don't have an evil twin? However, Batwoman's evil twin, Beth Kane, isn't so much evil as she is insane. When they were kids, they were victims of a terrorist abduction in which Beth was assumed to have died. However, years later, it is revealed that she had joined the religion of crime and created a persona of herself based on Alice in Alice in the Wonderland. She rose to power and was almost crowned the priestess of Gotham City. However, to acquire this title, she kidnapped her own father in hopes of acquiring toxic gas. A fight ensued between her and Batwoman, and it resulted in Beth falling from a plane to her assumed second death. The storyline goes on after this, but it seems to end when Beth was taken to an offshore treatment facility where doctors try to restore her mind to sanity. Number 7, Batwoman's relation with Betty Kane. Betty Kane was introduced as Batgirl for a short period of time, specifically as just being the niece of Kathy Kane. Like her aunt, the main purpose was to be a love interest for Robin, just so the writers could repeal the accusations that the Cape Crusaders were gay. After a few stories, she was written off and not seen again for some time. Post-Crisis, her entire character was redeveloped, and she was revealed to now be the cousin of Batwoman and a part of a team similar to the Teen Titans as Flamebird. What's even more confusing is that it was never really 100% confirmed if the characters Batgirl and Flamebird are the same or completely different people. Either way, DC wants us to forget about this confusing character mishap and how the first Batgirl is just a ploy for Batman and Robin to look more masculine. Number 6, Batwoman is Batman's aunt. I know that I already explained Batwoman's origins to you, but the story is complicated. It became complicated when the story was reimagined in 2011 in Grant Morrison's Batman's Incorporated series. This story shows Batwoman as she originally was in 1956, except with a little incest sprinkled in. Apparently, before she was Kathy Kane, she was Kathy Webb, but only became Kathy Kane when she married Nathan Kane. Well, Nathan Kane was actually Martha Wayne's younger brother, making Batwoman Bruce Wayne's aunt. After Nathan Kane's sudden death, Kathy Kane began purposefully getting close to Batman. However, neither knew that they were related, and so they began to date. Thankfully, it's called off when the League of Assassins tried to kill Kathy, because they found out that her long-lost dad was a Nazi supervillain, but she of course survived this. This whole storyline is fairly recent, but something tells me that if Batwoman ever gets her own movie, some of these details won't be included. Number 5, Batwoman was a villain for a short time. For those of you who don't know, the Female Furies was a group of enraged superhuman women who were insanely powerful and loyal to Darkseid. The original group of Furies betrayed their leader, Granny Goddess, and Darkseid, and are killed and or exiled for it. However, later on during the events of the Final Crisis, Batwoman, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, and Giganta are all brainwashed into becoming Darkseid's newest female Furies. Each of them are given appearances that resemble the 4 original female Furies, and in addition, Batwoman is possessed by the spirit of Mad Harriet, one of the original Fury members. Batwoman even wears the deceased Fury's energy gauntlet, her bat suit, and wields twin pistols. During this time, Batwoman is technically a villain, and so she does villainous things. Number 4, Batgirl replaced Batwoman. You might not have heard about Batwoman, but you definitely have heard about Batgirl, and that's because the youngster was meant to replace Batwoman, and she sure did a good job of doing so. Batgirl's popularity was well beyond that of Batwoman's, and that's probably because of how relatable she was to younger readers. In addition to this, her method of fighting was similar to that of the Caped Crusaders, thus making her more of a match fitting. Maybe DC didn't want to leave in a character that was specifically meant to be a love interest for Bruce Wayne, seeing that Batgirl somewhat embodies the idea of female strength and independence. Some fans may miss Batwoman, but the facts are that Barbara Gordon is far more popular than Kathy Kane ever was, and popularity makes DC more money. They most likely want us to forget that Batgirl is their easier choice over Batwoman. Number 3, Batwoman's publicity as being a gay character. Batwoman is a lesbian. How many times do we have to say it? Ever since she was announced to be gay and various partners were identified, the news and other media outlets have been absolutely bombarding and milking the topic. Even though this isn't necessarily a bad thing for DC, free publicity and all, it's not what DC was going for when first making the character. The point of Batwoman being homosexual is to break the barrier and to make the DC universe more diverse and representative for their fan base. News, media, and fans should not be freaking out about Kathy Kane's personal life when they should accept it and move on. It's a shame because I'm sure DC doesn't even care that much about her sexuality, but rather her awesome origin story and how good she is at kicking ass. Number 2, Batwoman was a party animal. Superheroes are known to be role models of humanity, the ones children aspire to be, so partying and alcohol don't seem to be part of many of their lives, with some exceptions obviously, one of these being Batwoman. After she was dismissed from the military academy for having a lesbian relationship, Kathy Kane moved back to Gotham City and drank her sorrows away night after night. She even dropped out of college and continued this path of having no sense of purpose in life. It is both sad and understanding to see her character at these times, but DC probably wants us to forget about this aspect of her life, especially for children. The silver lining of this is that one time after her night drinking and clubbing, she encountered a mugger in Batman. Seeing the Dark Knight gave her motivation to become Batwoman, and the rest is history. And number 1, Batwoman wasn't allowed to get married. This seems really bad, and that's because it is straight up ridiculous. A little bit ago, it was announced that Batwoman was not allowed to get married to Maggie Sawyer because DC did not give it the green light. Seeing this makes DC look really bad because it was one of those more pivotal marriages due to it being a same-sex relationship. A couple of writers actually decided to leave the team after the refusal, but later DC gave their reasoning on why they did what they did. DC claims that the comic books should not focus so much on their personal lives and relationships, but rather the characters and their superhero identities. He specifically mentions that the Bat family of characters are even a prime example, each being disconnected. Fans were very upset and had a good reason to be so. It flat out makes DC look like they're in favor for anti-gay marriage. And that is it for the video, guys. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Valplana, and I'll see you all later.